Today's video is sponsored by DistroKid. They are a music distribution platform that's geared towards independent artists and producers, like myself, possibly you as well. Use them, they are a go-to for music distribution, and I'll be getting into reasons why later in this video. Meris LVX, this is an extremely versatile pedal. Apparently it took them 2 years to create it, so it shows. You can tell from a user interface standpoint that they really wanted this to be accessible to everybody. So whether you're more of a beginner or if you're someone who's really into sound design. Maybe not quite as accessible from like a price standpoint, but you know how it is, gear be expensive. It's the sort of pedal where you could very easily just live in effects land and sort of tweak your way through that. But beneath the surface is another story. It gets extremely complex. I wouldn't even say that menu divey, but just in terms of parameters that you could work with, there's a lot. This is a first impression of the Meris LVX. I'll be giving you a very basic interface breakdown. There's already a bunch of other content that goes deeper into this, so it'll be pretty surface level. We'll be running through a few of my favorite presets and using it as a master effects on some select tracks and samples. I think that'll be the best way to quickly give you like a general idea of what this thing sounds like in context. If you scroll to the back, there's also plenty of space to create your own presets. So we'll be attempting that as well. Hopefully we could come up with something cool. We'll also be using LVX alongside the Model 1.4 as an effects send, so that's just another way to use it. I have a Patreon with tons of exclusive content, actually including my first like raw impression of the Meris LVX, a no talking sort of video. Plenty of other exclusive content as well. There's a link to that in the description of this video. And if you're on the edge and maybe interested in purchasing LVX, make sure to use the affiliate link, also linked in the description. I make a small commission from that sale at no extra charge to you. Please do consider using that link. It really does help this channel a lot. Also, full disclosure that Meris sent me this pedal in exchange for content, but they are in no way controlling what I'm saying about the pedal and my impression about the pedal, how I'm using it. So let's get into the basics and overview of the pedal interface. You can definitely consider it a modular delay pedal. Modular in the sense that there's many modules that make up any given sound or preset within the pedal. So you have 6 knobs, encoders to work with, and then you have this like little scrolling knob right here. So the knobs that are labeled, there's no way, at least to my knowledge, of changing what it is that they control. And so the great thing about these 4 here, time, feedback, mod, and mix, is that even if you're deep within a menu, you're able to access these at all times. And so in a way, I consider these to be like the easy access or performance knobs. And then there's the 2 in the middle where, depending on your preset, so here it's controlling highs, lows. I'm gonna go to a different, so now it's controlling attack, pitch, right? So you could actually change what parameters these control. You could also jump banks, so bank down, right? Now I've jumped to 22, 23, 24, and I could jump up a little bit quicker that way instead of using this knob here. It also gives you the name of each preset or whatever you saved your preset as. There's also record and overdub. So this is a section I haven't really gotten into yet. This is a first impression video after all. And so those are the surface basics of Meris LVX. Next, we're gonna use it as a master effects and just some notable presets to build on. Let's take a look at this MIDI setup. You might be like, why the f is there a TR6S in this setup? Well, it's because I couldn't figure out how to use my USB, what is it? USB MIDI Plus? What is it? USB MIDI host. I wanted to tempo sync LVX with the sounds that are coming out of my DAW, and so I'm basically using the TR6S as a MIDI hub, MIDI host. We'll see where it goes, but the goal is to focus on 1 or 2 basic delay effects, although when you check under the hood, so to speak, there's not really much that's basic about this pedal. Also 1 or 2 presets that involve pitch in one way or another, and another 1 or 2 presets that are more in like the bit crushy kind of sound degradation realm. Starting with the basic, quote unquote, basic delays. so there's definitely some sort of modulation. Is that a flanger phaser? And so if I take a look under the hood, so to speak, I'm going to press on this encoder here, head over to modulate. And here I could actually choose the type of modulation that I want. Let's try cassette instead. It's pretty on brand. That's a much different flavor, also very cool. Barber pole, I don't know what that is. Interesting. Granulize. Yeah. And not only that, I could change so many other things here, right? So let's go to location, post. I'm gonna change this to, where is it? Pre and dry. So it's a much more intense effects. So we could change the location of where that effects is happening, the, what else? The frequency. Let's go back to granulize. In this example, we're just barely scratching the surface of this one page. There are many other pages as well. Let's scroll to the beginning of it all. Delay, dynamics, preamp, filter, pitch, modulate, mix, looper, modifiers, expression pedal, globals, right? So there's, what is that, like 11 pages in total? And then on each page, there are several parameters to tweak as well. So you can imagine how deep this thing goes. I do admit, especially when you're creating your own preset, it almost feels like it's too much to work with, in which case you actually are able to just turn these off if you want. So for example, on the modulate page, I could just go to type and turn it off. So now there's no modulation on this effects. Also, just a little thing to note here, I would actually rather have my drums separate and unaffected by these effects and just have the melodic parts affected. And so using the TR6S would actually be a perfect opportunity to do that. It's just my YouTube filming setup doesn't allow me to do this at this point. So I guess I need an update there. All right, so let's take a look at some more pitchy delay sounding presets. I have a new riff synced up. It's more of a guitar type deal. Let's see where this takes us. There's quite a few interesting ones here, starting with sevens. Let's try this. Let's dive into those pitch settings. Yeah. Drums sound weird. Guitars sound great. Yes. We could maybe even add some modulation over top of this because this preset doesn't have any modulation. Let's go ahead and do that. I mean, can't go wrong with cassette, right? Maybe just a little bit of that cassette. Make it a bit more subtle. And there we have modulation as well. I'm gonna save that. Audio degradation presets. We haven't done anything with just drums yet. This preset is called Bit Wander, so obviously it's some sort of bit crusher. Let's hear it on these drums. Okay, without. Definitely sounds better without at this point. Like, what if we went in there? Bit crusher should be in the preamp section, which is, where is it? There it is. So bit crusher, we could change the type, turn it off. Honestly, at this point, it does sound better without it. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, maybe change the location of that preamp. Can I do that? Yes, I can. Location. Yeah, I like it when it's pre and post, so it's just like the full signal is being distorted. Right, so the preamp is just always there, and then over top of that we have whatever delay settings I've also added. That's really cool. Without... Right, so it's just a completely different thing now. So it's labeled as a granular delay pedal, but you have this whole preamp section where you could step into, like, you know, distortion sort of territory. Also, just to take note of some other presets in this section. So gain, bass, mid, so you have like a little EQ section here as well with the preamp. Like if you wanted this to sound a little bit more mid-heavy, let's say. Let's go ahead and do that. Lots of mids. Let's take the treble down. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's just a different thing. Bass, more bass? Ooh. Dirty. There's one other preset I'd like to take a look at, TPZ Low FIA MB. Let's play this. And if I wanted to change this delay time, because right now it's actually locked onto the tempo, so it's locked at 500 milliseconds. I'm gonna take this out, and let's give this a try. I'm gonna turn this down to 0, or close to 0. So, let's say 40 milliseconds. Right, and that's a whole new flavor. Without it, again, just a completely different flavor. So there's different types of modulate. This is something we already touched on. There's a cassette type. There's also a preset that's very on brand for me, so I'd like to check it out with you. It's preset 15. It's called Echo Cassette, and it's very specific, very satisfying though. Let's take a look at it. Without it, with it. Again, this would be a cool thing to have just on the melodic part, so like the chord and this little vocal weird thing that I have going, and then the drums to be something completely different and unaffected. If you're someone who really likes to dive deep and craft your presets from scratch, you could of course do that. And so let's do that. I'm gonna jump over to the end here. There's a bunch of blank presets, 90. And we'll see what we could do with this. I'm just gonna play it on drums to start with. Let's dig a little bit deeper, modulate, maybe put yeah, let's go with barber pole. I mean, I would choose cassette once again, but let's try that. I like that just on post. Let's head over to pitch. Yes, pitch. We'll do something here as well. In fact, here, pitch. We'll do that. We'll just solo the synth part here. Lo-fi pitch. And we're gonna change the tone of the pitch. So once again, we'll go to perfect fifth on both sides, left and right. There we go. Okay, let's go over to a different setting here, filter, preamp. Drums back on. Let's give it some drive, but just like a tiny little bit. So we'll change the mix of this, or sorry, the gain. Right, so it's very much in the background. And so I'm going to start up another track. We're going to use LVX as an effects send within the Model 1.4 My Mixer. Before getting into that, let's talk about today's sponsor, DistroKid. Here's a few reasons why you should be using DistroKid as opposed to other music distribution platforms, especially if you're an independent artist or producer. Firstly, they're on the cutting edge of social media and new music promotional tools. They're definitely the pioneers in that sense because their platform depends on people like us, independent artists and producers, to use these tools to promote our own music. The amount of stores or streaming platforms that DistroKid distributes to is insane. And they also keep up to date with smaller or up and coming platforms that you might not even know about or have access to. So a perfect example of this is a platform called KKBox, which DistroKid distributes to. You think that Spotify is my biggest streaming earner, but it's actually not. KKBox is, so thank you DistroKid for keeping track of that. DistroKid does not take a cut. They deliver 100% of streaming royalties to you, no extra charge. Independent artists and producers, there is a reason why DistroKid distributes 1/3 of the world's music, which is insane. Okay, back to the video. So let's start up another track and see how LVX works as an effects end. First off, mix knob, full blast. This is a totally different quality or flavor altogether. So now instead of all of the tracks going through LVX, essentially using it as a master effects, now we can isolate which tracks we want to send this effects to. So let's solo the drums. And I'll get my levels correct, just make sure that it's not peaking or anything. If I was to solo that effects, this is what it sounds like, so it's very subtle. Without. With other drums. Right, I could send it to these drums instead, let's say. And so we could find another preset that maybe works better with these melodic parts. So this long pad here, something a bit spacier. Let's try this. This is what that effect sounds like alone. Ooh, peaking. Very strange. So that's with it, without it. With it. So we're talking very subtle here. I wonder what that sounds like on the drums. Very weird. And so that is my first impression of Meris LVX. Hopefully you found some information here that was useful for you. If you're on the edge of maybe purchasing LVX, consider using the affiliate link in the description of this video. It helps me a lot, so please do use it. It also doesn't cost you anything extra. I've also included an affiliate link for the Model 1.4 in case you're interested in that, or the TR6S. These are all great pieces of gear. I use these all the time. You're invited to join the Patreon as well for tons of exclusive content. Would love to see you guys there. Thank you to Meris for sending this pedal over. Hours and hours of fun ahead of me with this thing for sure. And I'll see you guys soon.